Do you believe that Casso called Danny Marino for the okay to kill him?
Called Danny Marino to kill?
Yeah, because Idell was allegedly Danny Marino's nephew, and he called Jimmy Fiella and another captain over.
No, I don't believe that at all.
Yeah, because I don't buy that. Suppose he called Danny
absolutely not.
Marino up and said, "Hey, you know, he did this. Can we kill him as a courtesy?" Because he was a fellow cap at the time. And
No, that didn't happen. As soon as he found out that that Jimmy Heidel was one of the people who was in that car who shot him, that was it. He gave it to his, what he called them, his crystal ball.
Yeah.
The cops. And you know, and there was another guy who they killed the wrong person, named Nicky Guido.
Yes, the bagel shop kid, right?
Yeah, correct. And he was showing off his brand new car on Christmas morning to his uncle when a car pulled up next to him and shot and killed him. He jumped, actually, Tom, he jumped in front of his uncle and on top of him, so his uncle didn't get killed and Nicky got killed. The real Nicky Guido had heard about all of this and took off for California. He later came in and became an informant. So that was another guy. But no, Gaspipe didn't need anybody's permission. He was a man of him, into himself, and did what he wanted. And Jimmy, Jimmy was unfortunate. I got to tell you one little thing about that. We found out through another source, and I don't remember exactly what the source was. The house that that Jimmy Heidel was tortured in the basement, and Tommy Dades, not using the police department's a forensic unit. We used a forensic unit from Bellevue Hospital, of all places, because we were uncertain as to how and who in the PD were friends with Caracappa and Eppolito. So we used this other group, and they went to the house, and you're going to get a kick out of this being an Italian American. They went down to the basement, and the entire place was mirrored. They had put mirrors up throughout the entire basement, and the floor was all brand new. So Tommy calls me from the place, and he says, "Mike, this place is all mirrored. We'd have to destroy this house in order to look for the blood, Jimmy Heidel's blood, which is what we were looking for."
Yeah.
So that was one of the little things that happened during the course of the investigation.
One more. Sorry to cut you off. One more quick thing on Max. I know we got a lot to talk about. I always wondered about those guys, like the beat that they were on. Were they OC? Were they like? I was wondering because they would go to like all these different places. They were out of place. They were a crystal ball. I understood all that, but were they doing stuff like congruent with their job? So as a prosecutor, like, oh, that makes sense. Or were they on like a totally different beat and they were just like dumb and doing things they shouldn't have been doing because it wasn't like their coverage area, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. Eppolito was a precinct detective, so he wasn't involved in an organized crime aspect of it. Caracappa was part of the Major Case Squad and the organized crime section of the Major Case Squad. And here's where your question is very prescient, because this is what happened. The way that we broke the case was we had gotten all of the files from the federal government at the time, because they weren't interested in doing this at that point. We got it, and we set Tommy. I set Tommy Dades up in a room in our office upstairs from my office with all of these boxes. And one day he comes walking into my office with a piece of paper, and he says, "We got him." So what are you talking about? Yeah. What Tommy found was the computer printout that Caracappa did or generated when he searched for Nicky Guido's address and name. And what he found was the wrong Nicky Guido, the guy that they killed. He found his address, his name, and that gave us the link that we needed between these guys and at least the Nicky Guido homicide. So that was, and he did that on a police computer. He did it in the Major Case Squad, and the computer printout was preserved, and we had it. And Tommy, that's how we really started the investigation off on a strong footing. So yeah, and Caracappa also was not the Caracappa had been in trouble before when he first, he had a record when he became a cop.
Yeah,
he'd been arrested, as a and that was at the time when he became a police officer. It was during the Vietnam War. There were a lot of people who there were no recruits, so they were taking anybody. And Caracappa was one of the people that they took, in spite of the fact that he had a criminal record. So
interesting. So that's a biggie. What are some of their books before we get to